welcome to episode 99 of the Craft House Magic podcast. My name's Ellie and I'm coming to you from Norwich in Norfolk in the UK, and today is the 17th of January. I almost said December then, that's a bit worrying. So today I've got some knitting, some crochet, and I'm going to talk about my Make 9 goals for dressmaking for this year and see what things I addressed from last year's targets. I have some confessions, and I have one question from the Ask Me Anything thread which I'm going to talk about, and then I'm just going to talk about things that I'm going to have in my shop update, which is this evening at 7 PM. So I generally have a shop update every Friday at 7 PM anyway, so there we go. So we have two make-alongs going on at the moment. We have the Retro Mal, which is making all the things. You can make it in knitting, crochet, sewing, whatever craft you can imagine, but anything that's related to things that are retro. So it can be made out of something that's named with a yarn from an 80s song, for instance, like a lot of my yarns are. Anything like that. If you can link it in, brilliant. Come and let us know how that links into anything retro. So we've also got the Right Around the Corner shawl knit along that I decided to do, because a few of you decided that you'd like to knit it too. So I decided to do it mainly on Instagram. So there's a hashtag Right Around the Corner CHMCAL, that stands for Craft House Magic Knit Along, just so that you can see what other people are, how other people are getting on. I think I put on last week's podcast, I missed the Right Around the Corner shawl. Obviously you need to have the full title of the pattern in there, silly me. So Right Around the Corner shawl, CHMKAL. So come and join in. There are already a few people that have posted on Instagram, but I don't know if you've used the same hashtag, so it would be nice for us all to be using the same hashtag if you want to join in. Somebody asked me if I'd open a Ravelry thread for this as well, because they don't use Instagram, so I have done that as well. So the knit along for the Right Around the Corner shawl is both on Instagram and on Ravelry as well, so look out for that. I will be drawing prizes, and I'll just make a list of all the people that have joined in, and then I'll draw prizes from that, rather than doing it the normal way I would through just Ravelry. So let's get on with the knitting. First of all, I'm doing my Adventina shawl, and I've still got it in my lovely bag from Davina, and this is getting big. So I started at this end. So this is the Adventina shawl, and it's by Catherine Schubert, and I will link the pattern in the show notes. So I started from this pointy end, and then I've been knitting along here. Hopefully you can see this, because I can't actually see the camera at the moment. And I've got to this edge here. So there we are. I think I put stitch markers where I got to on the last podcast, so I've knitted that much since the last podcast. And we're going into some browns now, and then into some purples, which is quite exciting. But my favourite bit at the moment is all these yellows, I think. Love that bit, although I do like the pink bit as well, so I like it all. It's going to be big. I think I'm just over halfway now. I think about halfway through the number of minis is about here anyway, so it's going to be a big one. Hopefully not too big. It's getting there slowly. So the Adventina shawl by Catherine Schubert. To be honest, I have changed it very slightly in that there were some lace panels, but I decided just to keep going the way I was with the plain knitting, so it's a nice sort of mindless project that I can just keep on knitting while I'm watching the TV. At the moment we're watching Star Wars so that we can go to the cinema to watch the latest one, because we can't just go to the cinema to watch the latest one, we need to recap. So there we go. That's my Adventina shawl by Catherine Schubert. So most of the minis that are in the shawl are actually from my Advent that I had from Flourish Fibres, but I have popped in some different ones. Some of the ones that I swapped with my friend Jean, and some of them I just had in my stash. I just lined them all up and tried to do it so that they blended in nicely. So I'm excited to wear that actually. Really need to get on with it, but I started something else. Of course, because we were going to do the Right Around the Shawl, right around the corner shawl knit along. I had to make a good start on it, didn't I, so that everyone else could be knitting it at the same time. So I have knitted this much so far. So it is a triangular shawl, and this is sort of the centre bit, and I've knitted it with two of my colourways that I have in my shop. So the colours I'm using are You Can't Hurry Love, which is the pink, and the grey, speckledy grey, is Here Comes the Rain Again. Hopefully you can see that quite well, and it is in a sparkly yarn. I'm not quite sure whether you can see that on camera because I've got it right in front of my face. So hopefully you can see that. But that's how I've got on so far. I think that's quite a lot. I think that took me 2 evenings to do that. And these are the colours in the cakes. So that is the You Can't Hurry Love, which is basically like a corally pink, like a dusky corally pink with grey speckles on. And this is Here Comes the Rain Again, which is a pale grey with darker speckles of grey on there. I think those go together really nicely. So my mum actually was saying to me, I'm sure you've knitted them with those before. She was very good. I'm very impressed. Very impressed, Mum. Because I did knit these 2 yarns in actually stripes just like this in my Vertices Unite wrap in one of the triangles, but actually this is just these 2 together, and I think that they go together so well that I need an entire shawl just in these 2. So the Right Around the Corner shawl is by Lisa Haynes. Whoops, bags fell off the table. And it is a triangular shawl with tassels on the end. I'm very excited for the tassels. It just looks so lovely on when it's around the neck. I'll pop a picture of it here. It's very simple actually by the construction, by the looks of it, but it looks so effective, so I have to knit it. So that is coming along nicely as well. So that's my knitting that I've been working on. This week I haven't done loads of knitting because I went away and me and Mum went shopping, so we spent a lot of time shopping and eating food and not knitting very much. I do have some crochet to show you though. I've got my crochet in my Miranda's back bag that I made from my trip to Harry Potter Studios in Watford. And I have been working on this blanket from scraps from other little projects, so I'm gonna have to go backwards. So I don't know if I can even think I can get it all in the one picture, but basically it's a huge triangle and I've been using up scraps. If I come closer you can see the lovely texture of this. Absolutely love this sort of squared effect that comes out. Really nice, and it's got quite a nice dense texture that's going to keep me lovely and warm. So I am using all the little scraps that I've got out of my other projects, like and when I finished knitting in my Adventina shawl, I have to make sure I've got a full row of the yarn, so anything left over goes into this, even if it's just a metre. And I'm using a magic knot ball, so I'm tied in to a little ball all the little scraps using the magic knot technique. I will link the magic knot tutorial that I have up in the top corner. It'll be your right hand. This is my left, your right. Oh dear. It's where I show you how I do the magic knot itself, but I am crocheting 2 yarns together, so I'm using some of my merino and nylon undyed 4-ply or fingering weight base held double with all my fingering weight 4-ply scraps, and this is called the corner to corner crochet blanket. And I actually didn't use a proper pattern for this. I got it from a tutorial, and it was a Bella Coco tutorial. I will link it in the show notes for you so you can find that. But isn't that gorgeous? I love that. It's just a load of random colours, but that cream yarn tones them down a little bit. I'm trying to disperse the ones that are slightly darker with a lot of the lighter colour in between. But this row is now massive. It's like my arm span basically. I think I'm just going to make it so that it's about 1 metre wide. So I always measure 1 metre from this shoulder to the end of my hand. So I've got a few more, couple of inches to go, a few more rows there to make it wide enough, and then I'll start making a rectangle shape. But that is cool, isn't it? I think I'm going to do an edge on it as well, because I prefer it to have like a border. I think that'll look really nice with a bit of a border. So there we go, crochet. Ta-da! This is getting quite heavy now because it's so thick with the held double. I better not make it too big, otherwise it'll be ridiculously heavy. So my dressmaking targets, right. Last year I did a make 9 list of things that I wanted to make in terms of dressmaking, and I made a very poor effort as well. I felt that I didn't really do a lot of dressmaking towards the end of the year just because the shop was so busy really. So I need to plan ahead a little bit better and do more stuff earlier in the year, I think. So for my make 9 last year, I wanted to achieve another Zadie dress, which is a pattern from Tilly and the Buttons, and I did so. So I've actually got a Zadie dress on at the moment. So this is a more summery one that I made, and it's got the most gorgeous huge pockets in it, and this one I wore on holiday quite a bit. And I just did it in a black because I find that nice and flattering. And I saw that one of the Stitch Sisters, I can't remember which one it was, had done a black version of the Zadie dress with a panel of stripy, so I had to copy. And I love this. I'm really pleased with that. And actually, I'd really like to make some more Zadie dresses in the future. They do take quite a long time to sew up though, because there's so many panels. I think it probably took me about 6 hours to just sew this once I'd actually cut the thing out, because there's so many things that you need to sort of understitch and finish off. But there we go, that's one of my make 9 for last year. My next thing on my list was to make more t-shirts. So one of my favourite patterns is the Concord, which is a cashmerette pattern, and it's basically just a t-shirt pattern that comes with a 3/4 length sleeve, and you have the option to do these cute little tabs, and there are several neck choices that you can do. This is the higher neck, but there is like a V neck and another round neck version. I think there's 3 options anyway, but this is one of those. I do wear these tops a lot. I really enjoy having the comfort of having the extra bit of space around the bust area, because cashmerette are good for people that have got larger busts and larger all over really. So I did some of those. And under that sort of thing of lots more t-shirts, I did quite a few Frankie t-shirts. So I've got so many of these Frankie t-shirts now. So this is one of my favourite versions of the Frankie t-shirt by Tilly and the Buttons. This one is a art gallery fabrics that I just love the quality of these fabrics, and I may have purchased some more of those that will be in my confession section. And I made some more, well, to be honest, I made quite a few more of these. I just grabbed 2 to show you. So this was some fabric that I got off a friend, and I just paired it with some plain grey actually. So this didn't cost me much at all, because the grey fabric I got for really cheap price as well. So basically I was using stuff up, so that's brilliant. Ta-da! I'm going to make more of the Frankie t-shirts. I find that because they're sort of a baggier fit, they're just really comfortable to have. Third of all, I said on my list that I'd make some more Sylvia robes, and I did make one more, and this is made out of some polyester material that I picked up from the Knitting and Stitching show, I think, and it's, as you can see, it's a little bit see-through. And it's nice to just stick over a pair of jeans and a plain t-shirt just to jazz it up a little bit. And this is a really long one, and I do wear this quite a lot. Although I think I'd wear it more if the material was a bit more breathable, because it's made out of a polyester. Even though it's very light, sometimes it can feel a bit sort of hot. But I would make that pattern again, really nice. So that's the Sew Over It, and it's the Sylvia robe. So that was 3 of my make 9, but I'm afraid there was 6 that I didn't actually achieve. So on my list was a Vogue coat, which is actually still on my list for this year, an asymmetric skirt, which I shall show you in a bit, it's out of a book that I have, and that's on my list as well. The Upton dress, which is still on my list for this year, and I just said that I'd do more blouses, and I basically just made one, which I'm working on to basically fit and make a pattern to fit myself perfectly, because I did a pattern cutting course and I've almost finished doing that. I also had the Lizzie skirt and the Linden sweatshirt on there, which I didn't get round to. There's too many things to do. But my make 9 for this year, I think, the first one on my list is definitely the coat, because I have some grey wool that I picked up, and I picked up this pattern off eBay. Now this is out of print, so it hasn't got a proper cover on it. It's like a photocopied version, and somehow the inside of the packet was intact, but they've obviously, the outside packet had perhaps been damaged, so there was a print of the outside of the packet. So it's this version that I want to do. If I can find it, I'll put a photograph that's a bit better than this on the screen. I've just got it in one of those little envelopes that's transparent so I can see what's inside. So I want to make that with grey wool. I'm not sure whether I'm going to line it or not. I'm going to see about that. We'll see. So number 2 on my make 9 dressmaking list is to copy this cardigan, because I absolutely love it. It's got like a waterfall front, so I want to see if I can make a copy of these. It's starting to get a little bit scruffy now. It is a shop bought one, but I want to make copies so that I can have lots of different colours in my wardrobe. So that's number 2. Number 3 is I want to make a skirt for myself, and it'll either be the Lizzie skirt by Sew Over It, or this asymmetric skirt that I had on my list for last year that's out of the book, the Sewing Bee book. I'm not sure which series this was, but it's the one with the pink cover on anyway, but yes, it's this one. So I thought that was quite a challenge to put together, so I fancied making it. So maybe I'll get them both done, who knows. So the Lizzie skirt, if I Sew Over It, is just a sort of a plain gathered skirt, I think, that'll just be useful sort of for going out for a meal in the evening. Not that I go out for meals very often. Oh dear. Number 4 on my list is the Upton dress, and it's a cashmerette pattern, and it's basically a dress for going out to a wedding or something. It's a bit posher. So the fabric I've chosen is some black satin, and I have actually bought it and I showed it on the last year's make 9 for dressmaking, but I haven't even started it. How awful is that? Number 5 is the Hollyoak maxi dress by Cashmerette. Now this came out earlier this year, and it's a really nice summery dress, and I did see some really nice full length versions of it, but I saw that somebody'd make like a top out of it as well, so it's got a sort of a waistband under the bust, and they cut it off as a short top, and I thought that'd look nice with a pair of jeans as well. Definitely something I'd wear a lot. So either I'll make the actual dress or the top, or both. So number 6 is the Tobin sweater by Cashmerette again. So the Tobin sweater is quite a high neck jumper with some buttons on the neck. I think that's really nice. I'm actually going to try and make that this month, because then I'll get most of the wear out of it, because it's obviously the winter months at the moment. I haven't decided exactly what fabrics I'm using, but hopefully I will go through my stash and find something wonderfully perfect for it. Number 7 is the Belmont leggings, also by Cashmerette. I thought leggings are brilliant because I like to wear them with the Zadie dresses as well, especially in the winter to keep my legs nice and toasty. The Romy top by Tilly and the Buttons, and it's got a really cool detail just on the top of the shoulders here where it's sort of overlapped, and I thought that looked interesting. And then there's also a version with a hole in the back as well, which I might have a go at. Number 9 is the Indigo Smock by Tilly and the Buttons. So this I've had my eye on for a few months now, and I just think it looks like a lovely, very wearable top. So I think it's not for a jersey fabric, it's for a woven fabric, but I don't know whether I might do it in a jersey, because I really like the fact that it's quite drapey as well. I'll see how I get on. I'll have a go at that and let you guys know how I get on. So let's see if I can do more than 3 things from my dressmaking make 9 for this year. But I'm very excited to start on all the dressmaking projects, as well as all the other crafty things as well. So next is my confessions. So I have been a bit naughty and spent some money on some yarn this week. So the yarns that I bought this week include this beautiful yarn from my friend Diane, who's Peggy May Yarns, and she's dyed this up in memory of a member of the family who died as a baby, which is absolutely awful. But she dyed this yarn in order to raise money for the funeral and things. So I had to buy some to support Diane. I don't know if she's selling it anymore, but her website is peggymayyarns.co.uk if you want to go over there and have a look. I also bought some more gorgeous yarns, and I saw, I've left it in the box because it looks so nice. So this is from Down Sheepy Lane, and it's a beautiful minis set. I'll have to take these out one at a time. That is dyed in the colours of The Witcher. Now, The Witcher is a Netflix series that I have been watching, and I'm basically through the second time of watching it because I love it so much. And I have actually started reading the books as well. So these are the yarns. Ta-da! So I'll show you them one at a time. The first one is Siri, and it's got some beautiful teals and browns in there. Love it. The second one is Geralt of Rivia, and it's got some gorgeous greys and some greens and speckles in there. It's absolutely beautiful, just like Debbie to do those sort of delicate speckles. Absolutely gorgeous. So that's Geralt of Rivia. And then we have Yennefer, which is some greys and some bright pinks and purple in there as well. Really lovely. And this is the White Wolf. Lovely shiny silvery grey. With that it comes with the grey of the same size as well, and also a paler grey to go for heels and toes. So these sets are designed to do a pair of stripy socks, and basically I think that these are 10 grams each, these little ones. And then the larger one is a 20-gram one, so it's just enough to make a pair of socks without not having too much left over. Although I don't complain to having any left over because I always like to use all my scraps up anyway. So I think that's, oh no it's not, I've got some more confessions. So because I'd been looking into my dressmaking list, I was looking on Minerva Crafts and I just had to pick up some more fabrics. So jersey doesn't count as fabric stash. So I picked up, I think that's the way up, that's it. I picked up 2 fabrics, and this is a Art Gallery Fabrics one, again my favourite. It's a really nice quality jersey, and I just love these colours. Isn't that gorgeous? So I'm going to put these in the wash ready so that I can sew them up as quickly as possible, because I need to wear this as a t-shirt. So I normally just pick up 1 metre for a short sleeve t-shirt, because to be honest Art Gallery fabrics are a little bit expensive. It's about £24–25 a metre. But if I can get 1 metre, a t-shirt out of 1 metre, I'm happy. So that's good. So I bought 1 metre of this. It might actually tell me what the designer is on here. It's called Art Gallery Fabrics Bountiful Fabric Range. And it's by Sharon Holland, the design. So let me show you the selvage there if I can. There we go. So that's that one. But I also had to pick up another one as well. So this is the second one. I thought that this would make a t-shirt that would just go with a lot of things. So this is an Art Gallery Fabrics as well. And this is Artisan Knits. And it was designed by Pat Bravo. If you look at the selvage just there, you can see. So that's designed by Pat Bravo, but that I thought would go with loads of things. Gonna get those in the wash today, I think. I always like to wash my fabrics before I use them when it comes to dressmaking, just to make sure they don't shrink, because we won't want that. But to be honest, the art gallery fabrics, they're pretty good quality anyway, so they probably don't, but just in case. So I think that's all my confessions. I've not been too bad this time. So I have a question from the Ask Me Anything thread, and that was from Ruth. She was asking, she's starting a Cozy Memories blanket, and in the pattern it says to use 2.75mm needles, but she normally uses 2.25mm needles to knit a pair of socks, and that they're both using fingering weight yarn, and she's confused on what needle size to use. Now, I think for a blanket you need the properties for a blanket need to be soft and drapey. For a sock, for instance, you need the fabric to be relatively durable, so you want quite a tight knit fabric. So the reason why you'd use different needles for these projects is it gives you a different product of material in the end. So using a slightly bigger needle for the blanket gives you a drapier, squishier fabric. It doesn't need to be durable. But for a sock, you need something to be tightly knit so that it'll be more durable, so it'll last longer and wear really well on the bottom of your feet. So I hope that makes sense, Ruth. I think I answered it actually in the thread, but I thought, do you know, I think a few people would be interested in what I've got to say for this. So I hope that makes sense for everybody. I just have some information on my shop update in a minute, but I just thought I'd mention something that my friend Kelly had sent me a link for. There was, obviously we all know the problems that have been going on with fires in Australia, and there's been a lot of koalas and other animals that have been injured as a result of these fires. So there was a campaign for Australia on the Paradise Fibres website, which is a yarn shop in Washington, and they were requesting joey pouches that are knitted or crocheted. Now I thought that I'd tell you guys about it because I know a lot of people from America watch the podcast, so I thought, in case you guys haven't seen that, so that's Paradise Fibres campaign for Australia, and I will leave a link in the show notes so that you can find that really easily. But I thought, because I'm from the UK, it's going to be a bit silly to be posting things all the way to the US that you're then going to go to Australia, so I think I'm going to donate some money online instead, rather than posting things in one direction down the world and then having to go all the way to Australia. But if you are in America and quite close to Washington, that's an ideal place to post things that you've made for the little koala bears and other little animals. But as I said, there's more details on their website. So I've just got the last section of the podcast, which is just some information on my shop update, which will be this evening at 7 p.m. So I'm introducing some new needles into the shop, and I've also updated a lot of the listings that were previously sold out. So as you know, I sell higher needles, but I'm starting to list these newer cables. So they are a finer cable, which is called a miniature cable, and they're interchangeable ones actually that can be used for the smaller needle sizes. So I can so I'll be selling 2mm, 2.25mm and 2.5mm in my shop, with the option of 2 lengths of cables at the moment. But if people are interested, I will stock more lengths of these cables as well. It's just that the 60cm and 80cm are the most commonly used for sock knitting. But if you did want to see some different length ones, I can get those in if you want to. I've put all the needles and the cables in one listing for these ones, because these needles will only fit on the miniature cables, these smaller ones, just so that you don't get confused. That's a separate listing, but I'm only going to stock the sharp ones at the moment. But again, if you want to see the steel ones, let me know. It's just that I can't stock all the things in the shop all the time, just because it'll cost me an absolute fortune to get them all in. But I wanted to get these, at least for the sock knitting sizes, in the shop. So you buy a separate cable to the needle, and you've got the option of the 3 sizes of needle and the 2 lengths of cable at the moment. Like I said though, if you do want to see more cables, do let me know, and if you do want to see the steel ones as well as the sharps, let me know. So the 2mm is a US 0, a 2.25mm is a US 1, and the 2.5 is a US 1.5. So I'll be selling all of those in the shop as from 7 o'clock tonight. So I was just going to show you the difference to the regular interchangeable cables. So they are slightly squishier than the regular higher interchangeable ones. If you can see, they're more pliable, so if you don't like how the normal blue ones bounce back, you might like these pink ones. I think they're brilliant. So I've been using this set, actually this is my own set, for a little while because I wanted to test them out before I sold them in my shop. So there we go. I'm also introducing some DK and Aran weight yarns into the shop. So I've previously just stocked some superwash merino and nylon DK, but now I'm going to stock some BFL. So this is the 100% BFL that I'm going to be listing in my shop, and this one is obviously undyed, just to show you the construction of it and how it looks. It's quite a soft BFL, and it's made of 4 plies of yarn, the construction, but it's still a DK. I just wanted to explain actually, because I was chatting to my friend Jean, that she was a bit confused by things being called sort of 4-ply, when actually it can be the construction or the weight of it, if you see what I mean. So this is a 4-ply construction, but it's a DK weight yarn. It's a bit confusing how in the UK we call our fingering weight 4-ply, because that then makes you think that there's so many plies to a fingering weight thickness, so there should be more to a larger, thicker yarn, but there isn't always. So the construction of this one is a 4-ply, and then I have some Aran weight yarns. Now this is interesting because this has got 100% superwash BFL in it, and it's a 2-ply Aran weight yarn, and this is 100% superwash merino, and this is a 6-ply Aran weight yarn. So the construction, there's different numbers of plies, but they're still the same weight, Aran weight, these two. So the 6-ply construction of the Aran weight yarn makes it really good for cables because it makes them sort of pop out. Actually this one here has got 115 grams in rather than 100 grams for this superwash merino one, but I'll make sure that's obvious in the listing. Sometimes you need that just a little bit extra than 100 grams. So those are the 2 Aran ones. So those 3 yarns will be listed in all the listings that I have on my shop. So how my website works is that there's a section for yarn. It lists all the colourways I've got at the moment, and within each of the listings you can choose whatever base you want your yarn. So if you order some yarn in one colourway, you've got the choice of all my bases, so once you've gone into that colourway listing. I hope that makes sense. So I've got a page at the moment on my website which actually runs down all the bases and what they're used for and how many plies they've got, etc. But if you get stuck and you don't know which base to choose, just send me an email and I'll try and give you a hand on which base would be most appropriate for your project. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I shall see you next week.